Hi everybody, this is Property with Leonard and welcome to another episode. Now on this channel we discuss property, finance and investments. Now please note that none of my videos constitutes as financial advice, but if you're looking for financial advice, please speak to an accredited and registered financial advisor. Now I don't have to remind you that times are tough and living on a single income is a challenge that some couples decide to undertake to raise a young family. Others, on the other hand, either as a result of sudden unemployment or disease, they have no other option. And it's unfortunate, but they have no other option but to make ends meet on a single income. And that is an unfortunate reality many people have to face. No matter deliberate or not, there are ways single income households can budget to make things easier to manage. And in this video, I'm going to share with you some tips and advice on how to budget for a single income household. If you are single or you and your partner have planned to live on a single income, it's important that you set yourself up correctly from the start, from the get-go. However, if you ended up, and with COVID-19 still very much prevalent in our midst, if you've ended up in this position involuntarily, you need to reorganize your life as soon as possible. And for the obvious reason, to adapt to the reduced income. I know it's tough, but you need to reorganize your life as soon as possible. And my advice to those of you who are planning to live firstly on a single income is to be realistic about what you can afford and to leave yourself plenty of breathing room so that you never really find yourself in a position where you can no longer afford the repayments on, for instance, your home loan, which for me is arguably one of the biggest, if not the biggest concern, but also the biggest expense. As you might or might not be aware of, bond repayments, it changes every time the interest rate changes. So taking your debt to the hilt of what a household can afford is seldom a good idea. In fact, it's never a good idea. And I wouldn't advise it at all. And that said, I still think that, and I would recommend buying a property, no matter the circumstances, no matter if you are at that crossroad, you have a single income, should we buy or should we rent? If your credit record is in good standing, and for instance, if you are blacklisted or whatever, I recorded an episode not so long ago on what to do if you are blacklisted. I'm going to leave a link in the description below, or you can just click on the pop-up banner. It will take you to that episode, and I would advise you to do so. So as I was saying, I would still recommend that you buy a house rather than renting. And those of you who might think that, coming from me, there's a conflict of interest. I'm not being very transparent to you based on the fact that I am in the property industry. Let me explain why I would still recommend, doesn't matter your financial circumstances, if you are in a position, if you are fortunate enough to have that option of buying or renting, let me explain to you why I still believe and would highly recommend that you buy. Firstly, buying a property, it eliminates the possibility of an annual rent escalation and provide you, as obviously the homeowner, with the appreciating asset that can be liquidated in times of crisis. Now, I know you're not buying it to sell it, but it is an option that you will have, and you will have the option obviously to exercise that. If you, as the homeowner, if you have taken out an excess bond, for instance, you can treat your home loan as a sort of savings account that can be accessed in case of an emergency. And for more information on this excess bonds, you can always go speak to your local home loan consultant who would be able to assist you and give you some more information in this regard. You can also watch one of my other videos on this channel where I discuss the pros and cons of buying versus renting. I would highly recommend that you watch it, and I'll for that video as well, I'll leave a link in the description below. After you've commented, you can just click on the link and it will take you to that video, or once again just click on the pop-up banner. It will take you to that episode. And if need be, if you have a property, if need be, it can also be sold, and the profit can be used to support or carry you as the owner through this crisis. On the other hand, those who have suddenly found themselves in the situation, you will need to reconsider your current living situation and identify where you can cut down on costs and possibly leverage on the property to access some much needed financial relief. Now, I know it might not be the best decision financially now, but if you are in survival mode, if you are in survival mode, you have to do what is necessary to survive, to get through this. I'm a strong believer that I always say God doesn't make any more land, but I've sold many of my properties. I mean, I believe anything is for sale. If the price is right, anything is for sale. And don't let anybody tell you anything else. You know the saying that desperate times calls for desperate measures. And as long as you own the property, you as the homeowner, you might be able to rent out. I mean, if you don't want to sell it, you might be able to rent out a room in your home. It's not the ideal, but once again, as I mentioned, desperate times. You can either rent it out on a short-term basis via platforms such as Airbnb or on a long-term basis with the help of a rental agent. And I would strongly advise that you use a rental agent. Either way, just to give you some advice, etc. They specialize in the field. My business, we don't really do rentals. But even some of the properties that I've rented out, my own properties, I make use of a rental agent, even though I am an agent, because I know, rental agents, they are completely different beings, because they have patience that sometimes I don't have, because not all tenants are unfortunately loyal, and not all tenants honor their word and their promises. But that's why you have a rental agent to look after all those nitty-gritties of agreements and contracts, etc. And then if you don't want to rent out or do this Airbnb things, if you need to downscale, meaning you need to sell your property in order to buy a cheaper one. I know it's tough and perhaps it's not what you want to hear, but often that's the last resort. And also very importantly, when considering this option, you need to factor in all the costs involved in selling your property to make sure that the result will bring about the desired financial relief. Now, I know it sounds pretty obvious, but I've had many clients who called me, say, Leonard, I need a valuation of my property because this is a situation. My wife and I, or if it's a single homeowner, I'm considering selling because of current circumstances, financial circumstances, that they were forced to sell. But when I go through with them, I go through the cost and factoring in all the cost and how much it will cost to sell the property based on how much they own and all the other things. And it's quite a mouthful. And I also did an episode in this regard. It is property selling tips that your agent doesn't know, and I would advise you to go watch it. I mean, this video is not really about that, but I would advise you to go watch that video. I'll leave once again a link to that video in the description below, or you can just click on the pop-up banner. It will take you to that episode, and it will give you detailed information in this regard. Now, many sellers, they forget that it can cost a substantial amount to sell a home. From the bond cancellation fees, the compliance certificates, that is the Beetle, electrical, plumbing certificates, and gas compliance certificate if you have gas in the home, settling the municipal account, as well as paying the agent's commission. These things pile up. And as a possible seller or potential seller, you need to factor in all these costs to find out what you can afford based on the profit that will result from the sale of your current home, of course. And just also in addition, because I know some of you face this dilemma as well. Just in addition, I know it's not, I mean, human beings, we have that thing called pride. And you've been living in a good area, nice home, everything has been going well for you. Now, because of maybe you lost your job and you only have, as I mentioned earlier, only have a single income, you need to downscale, or you need to move to a different neighborhood where homes cost a bit cheaper, and maybe you won't have the same status, and because it's not just a similar surroundings as where you are staying at the moment, and you might wonder, what will the people say? Because that's, I mean, You have pride. What will the people say? But I want you to remember, you know, many people all over the world, specifically in South Africa, we are in that predicament. And this is not about the people. This is about you and your family. It's about you and your future. And I want you to focus on that and stop suffering in silence. And forget about keeping up with the Joneses. It's not about that at all. You need to do what is good for you. And don't wait till it's too late. Many a times, I mean, the bank can repossess your property. Then you get next to nothing out of it. I'm saying next to nothing. Often you still have to pay in, whereby you could have saved yourself if you make this decision as soon as possible, as early as possible, where you decide to sell your house at a market-related price with a profit, and you can use the profit to move on and to sort out perhaps debt or to carry you through for a while after that. So I sincerely hope that this video, I know it's a mouthful, it's quite windy today in Cape Town, it's quite late in the evening, and I just came from a client, to be honest with you, and it really triggered me just recording this video and just sharing this with you all, because I know there's a lot of you that can really benefit from this information that I've just shared with you. And if this information was of value to you, can I kindly ask you, if you haven't, to please subscribe to my channel, to like the video, to share it, and leave a comment in the comment section below. I always like to go through these comments, like to respond to them. That way we get to know each other. Thank you so much, everybody. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Stay blessed.